In the desert where the clear night sky shows the large full moon, a man is sitting on his horse as the sinister voice narrates his legend of the Ghost Rider in the background. The story tells that every generation has one damned soul, roaming the earth and collecting the devil's deals. Many years ago, a Ghost Rider was sent to a small village to fetch a contract worth 1,000 evil souls. But that contract was so powerful that the rider knew he could never let the devil get his hands on it, so he betrayed his master and escaped the devil with the contract. Several years later, the scene changes to a motorbike show where Johnny and his father are performing for a crowd of people. After the show, Johnny's father chastises him for being reckless as they work on their bikes, and Johnny notices his father's health deteriorating. A few minutes later, Johnny's girlfriend Roxy arrives at their tent, and the two head out of the compound together. While they talk, a distressed Roxy tells him that her father was sending her to live with her mom, telling her that Johnny wasn't good enough for her. Afraid of losing her, Johnny suggests they run away together, telling her that their parents don't need them anymore. After he and Roxy make a plan to meet up at noon the following day, Johnny goes home and finds his father napping on his couch. On the table, he sees a crumpled up piece of paper that his father had thrown away and finds out that his father was in the last stages of cancer. After seeing the results, Johnny realizes that he cannot abandon his father and decides to cancel his plans with Roxy. Leaving their tent, Johnny goes to the shop to fix up his bike, and he is suddenly approached by a strange-looking man dressed all in black. Telling him that he enjoyed his show, the man prepositions Johnny with a deal to save his father in exchange for his soul. Not thinking too much of it, Johnny signs the contract with his blood. Johnny wakes up in his bed the following day and sees his father looking healthy, finding out that his disease was completely cured. Realizing that the deal he made had worked, Johnny begins to pack his bag to leave with Roxy. When Johnny's father finds out, the two get into a fight, but Johnny refuses to change his mind. Seeing his son standing by his decision, Johnny's father gifts him his bike. Just as he was about to leave, Johnny heard a heavy ruckus from the showroom where his father was performing and immediately realized something bad had happened. Johnny rushes to his father's side, but he dies in his arms. Devastated by the loss, Johnny takes his father's bike for a ride and runs into the devil, who had tricked him into selling his soul. The evil man tells Johnny that he will come looking for him one day and brands him with his magic, making Johnny forget about his friends and family. Several years later, Johnny became a nationally known motorbike stuntman, shocking the country with his crazy performance. After one of his insane stunts, Johnny crashes but doesn't sustain any injuries, showing the whole country, and begins to plan for something even more dangerous. In his travel bus, Johnny's manager, Mac, is concerned about his friend's health and the constant risk he takes. Mac is sure Johnny has a guardian angel watching over him, but Johnny knows it's something else. When they finally arrive at Johnny's house, Mac brings up the jump Johnny was planning for his father's anniversary and warns him against how dangerous it was, begging him to take out some of the cars he was planning to add on the stunt, which Johnny promises to take under consideration. Meanwhile, out in the desert, a demon walks into a biker bar and murders all of the inhabitants with the touch of his hands. Once they're all dead, he summons 3 of his accomplices to help him find the legendary contract. While they're plotting, the devil arrives and announces that the contract would be his and that his rider will find it, creating a feud with his son. On the day of the planned jump, Johnny is in his dressing room preparing when he meets Roxy, who has now become a nationally known reporter. Johnny is happy to see her, but Roxy attempts to keep it professional, only sticking to the interview. When it's over, she quickly leaves, and Johnny feels like he has received a sign that his stunt would be successful. When it's time for his performance, Johnny surprises Mac by bringing in helicopters instead. Not giving much thought as his mind is preoccupied with Roxy, Johnny makes the jump with ease and quickly drives out of his stadium, following Roxy out onto the highway and convincing her to go to dinner with him. The night of the date, Johnny is getting ready when he feels his body burning up. Suddenly, he hears voices coming from outside, calling out his name, and goes to check it out, shocked when he sees the devil that bought his soul. The devil announces that he is there to ask for Johnny's services and forces the famous biker to do his bidding despite his refusal. As soon as Johnny sits on his bike, the machine growls to life and speeds him across the highway to perform the devil's bidding. After driving several miles, Johnny's bike flings him over and he begins to scream in pain as his whole body catches fire as he transforms into the Ghost Rider. Once his transformation is complete, Johnny goes after the devil's son and his minions. Although they had underestimated him, the Ghost Rider escaped their attacks and killed one of the demons with ease. After completing his mission, Johnny drives over to a cemetery nearby and transforms back to himself as the sun begins to come up, screaming in pain and passing out in front of his father's tombstone. When Johnny awakens, he meets the Crypt Keeper, who informs him about who he is and tells him that it will continue happening to him. The man then continues to tell Johnny about the legend of the Ghost Rider and explains the last one existed 150 years ago. When Johnny explains that the devil sent him after Blackheart, the Crypt Keeper tells Johnny that they were angels that were cast out of heaven. He also tells Johnny that he should remain on the grounds, as the demons cannot step on hollow land. After saying his goodbye to the Crypt Keeper, Johnny goes to see Roxy to apologize for missing their date. Johnny finds Roxy covering the news at the train station, where Johnny's transformed self has caused a lot of distraction. The place was closed off by the police, who were investigating the same type of attack they had noticed in the biker's bar. Finding Roxy, Johnny attempts to apologize, but an angry Roxy insults him and leaves. After letting her go, Johnny goes home and continues to do research on his condition by reading the Bible. After going through a lot of scripture, Johnny attempts to practice how to control his power, and he is successful. Suddenly, Johnny hears his elevator come up and quickly extinguishes the fire in his hands. Standing at his door was Roxy, immediately launching into an apology for what she said at the train station. Unable to control herself, Roxy begins to kiss Johnny, but he quickly pulls away, fearful that he would hurt her. Confused, Roxy asks Johnny what his problem was and why he was giving her mixed signals. Unwilling to lie to her any further, Johnny tells Roxy about his issue, explaining that he was the bounty hunter for the devil. Roxy doesn't believe that he is telling the truth and angrily storms out, assuming that Johnny is making up stories so he doesn't have to be with her. After Roxy leaves, Johnny's house is surrounded by the police, who put him under arrest after finding his license plate on the scene of the crime. Taking him to the station, the detectives confront Johnny, but he remains adamant that he didn't hurt anyone. Refusing to believe him, they throw Johnny into prison with other criminals who begin to attack him, unaware that he is about to transform. Suddenly, the Ghost Rider inside Johnny is activated, and he fully transforms, exploding out of the gang and beating him up. Johnny then breaks out of prison with ease by melting the bars and walks out of the prison. Waiting for its master outside was Johnny's motorbike, which had also transformed into a monstrosity. Johnny gets on his bike and rides away with fire screeching on the ground. Meanwhile, Blackheart has arrived at the church. He believes the contract his father is looking for is hidden. When the priest arrives, Blackheart threatens the poor man and confronts him about the secret they were harboring, but the priest refuses to say anything. Out in the city, a transformed Johnny escapes from the dozens of police officers following him by riding across the lake, shocking all the bystanders. Once he manages to get away, Johnny hunts down the demons, but the police follow in close pursuit. Once he had managed to chase away the helicopter watching him, Johnny used his power to destroy the demon, using the wind as his element. Once his mission is complete, the Ghost Rider makes a very public escape, which Roxy witnesses and immediately believes what he has told her. After he has gotten away, Johnny quickly drives to the Crypt Keeper to find out more about his curse. After telling the older man that everyone was aware of his identity, Johnny asks the man for help. The old man tells him that the previous rider had stolen an evil contract and disappeared, the one all the demons and the devil were looking for. He also warns Johnny to stay away from all of his loved ones, as Blackheart would attempt to use them against him, making Johnny realize that Roxy is in danger. Meanwhile, the police approach Roxy and ask her to give them information about Johnny. When she refuses to collaborate, they threaten to go public with his secret, making her worry about him. Hoping to talk to Johnny, Roxy goes to his house and finds Mac instead. Worried about the well-being of his friend, Mac tells Roxy that Johnny has been reading strange books that he feels are messing with his head. At the cemetery, Blackheart finds the Crypt Keeper and attempts to torture him by telling him where the contract is. When he refuses to tell him, Blackheart decides to go after Roxy to force the rider into revealing the whereabouts of the contract. Fearing the same thing, Johnny begins searching for Roxy and finds her in his house after being attacked by Blackheart, who had murdered his best friend, Mac. Realizing the threat, Johnny immediately transforms into the rider and attempts to use his power of penance against the demon. But it fails, as Blackheart doesn't have a soul. Although he tries to face Blackheart, the demon is too powerful for Johnny. Blackheart then threatens to kill Roxy unless Johnny brings him the contract to the small town where it all began. Having no other choice, Johnny goes to the Keeper and gets the contract from him, promising the old man that he will make the right choices. Agreeing with Johnny, the Keeper calls on his horse, making Johnny realize that the Keeper was the rider who had escaped. Transformed into their ghost selves, The two ride to the small town that was to become hell on earth. When they finally arrive, the old man tells Johnny that he has only one transformation left, and that he is saving it all for that moment. Transforming back into his human self, he wishes Johnny good luck and urges him to make the right decisions. When Johnny finally arrives at the location Blackheart had instructed, he finds himself pushed underwater by the elemental demon, who attempts to drown him. Using his fire powers, Johnny destroys the demon, burning his essence away. Getting out of the water, Johnny walks over to Blackheart and shows him the contract, asking him to let go of Roxy first. When he finally does, Johnny attempts to stop Blackheart from taking the souls, but he fails, and the demon absorbs all the evil souls. Noticing how powerful Blackheart has become, he tells Roxy to run away and attempts to fight the demon alone, but she refuses to abandon him. While fighting the demon, Johnny realizes that Blackheart had absorbed 1,000 souls, which made him susceptible to his powers. Grabbing him by the collar, the Ghost Rider burns all the evil souls trapped inside Blackheart, destroying the demon. Once he is victorious, Roxy comes over to him and tells him that she is not afraid of him, helping him transform back into himself. As they're about to leave, the devil arrives and offers to take the curse away from Johnny, but he refuses. Johnny tells the devil that he is going to use the power of the Ghost Rider against him, which upsets the devil, making him vow revenge. In the end, Johnny and Roxy say their goodbyes on the beautiful field they used to spend time in during their youth. The two kiss goodbye, and Johnny continues his travels, hoping to do some good in the world. And with that, the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for amazing videos. See you in the next one.